It's 9 o'clock.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It is 9 a.m. Tuesday, November 5th. Where's the month? Where's the year going? It's going pretty fast. It is time for our weekly Cudahy County Board of Commissions meeting to begin, and we'll open the meeting with Pledge of Allegiance. And Al, do you want to lead us this morning? This is Veterans Week.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Al. Housekeeping chores, if you got a phone, which I imagine you do, please silence it, and mine is silenced. I did my rolls last week, I think. And if it does go off and you need to take the message, please step out into the rotunda so you don't disrupt the meeting. It probably won't affect us commissioners, but if there's somebody else talking, they might disrupt their train of thought. This meeting is being streamed live, so if you do approach the board or speak to the board, you more than likely will be on the live stream, and that's just more of a heads up so that you know that that's happening. Also, at this time, is there anyone in the audience that has something to bring to the board this morning that is not on the agenda? We certainly would like for them to do that, and we will allow time for that during the open. And we would not be able to act on anything as it is not on the agenda, but we want to give you that opportunity to address the board if you have some concerns or issues or something that you'd like to share with us. I see none. So with that, is there any items on the agenda that would appear to be a conflict of interest for any of the commissioners?
No.
No.
All right, so with that,
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
A motion by Hatton, a second by Van Duzen. Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 What about the
Move to
meetings
approve
of the
as
October
emailed.
22nd meeting? We have a motion by Hatton to accept them, a second by Lee Gable. Any discussion? Any discussion? Anything? Any questions? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion's approved. Monthly reports. We're going to start right out with the Veteran Service. Al, as I mentioned, this is Veterans Month, so it's a big month for you. We have Veterans Day coming up, and you might share with us what's all going to happen, and are you ready for it?
Yes, I am. Well, last month we had one trip to Sioux Falls with 2 riders. We had 72 appointments, walk-ins, and 3 house calls. This Friday, November 8th at 10:30 a.m. will be the opening ceremonies at the Redland Arts Center for the Canadian Vietnam Veterans Memorial Wall. That will be visiting Watertown from Friday through Veterans Day. The gentlemen that are bringing the wall down will be out at the Redland Arts Center for most of the weekend, answering questions and greeting people as they come through to see the display. On Monday, the 11th, the Veterans Day program is at 10:30, and that will be at the Cudahy County Extension Complex. And our speakers this year, we have 2 of them, Ron Parks and Rob Purvis, who are both Canadian Vietnam veterans, and they will be our speakers this year.
What was the first gentleman's name, first name?
Ron
Ron.
Parks, P-A-R-K-E-S,
Okay.
and
And the second
Rob
one?
Purvis,
What was his
P-U-R-V-I-S.
first name?
Rob
Rob.
Rob.
Rob and Ron, okay.
and Ron.
Okay.
And they're both Canadian veterans. And it's going to be a very interesting weekend because a lot of people don't realize that Canada was not in the war officially, but over 10,000 young men came down to join our forces and to help
How
our
many people is that? How many?
10,000.
There was that many.
And 149 of theirs died in combat. So it's going to be a very unique weekend for Cottington County and Veterans Day program.
What time is the opening ceremony on Friday morning?
10:30.
Okay.
Yep, it'll be on the second floor of the Red Island Arts Center. And we were able to talk the Glacial Lakes Harmonizers into singing "O Canada" for their national anthem, so we're going to make it a little bit of a Canadian flair this weekend for our visitors.
How about the veterans program? Is that all ready to go?
Yes,
Okay, good.
yep.
So, Mr. Chairman, so 10:30 on Friday for the,
Opening ceremonies to
Yeah.
welcome the wall
and then on the 11th at 10:30 as well at the Extension
at the
Center.
Extension Complex, yes.
Okay.
All right, do you have any questions for Al?
Just one, Mr. Chairman, just one thing that relates to the Veterans Assistance was I got an email from the VA clinic from one of the doctors saying that the open house for the VA clinic was December 4th. I don't know if you got the same email or not, but I'm told that date might change.
That might
Oh, all
change.
right,
So-
because I did forward it to everybody.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It might change because they forgot to invite the bigwigs out of Minneapolis. so
And
they
it
don't
is
know
on
if
our public
scheduled.
notices list, so if you find out a date change, let me
I
know
will
so I
do
can
that.
change that.
And then the first day of seeing patients in the new clinic will be November 20th. That's set in stone, so.
Yeah. Okay, thank you, Al.
Thank you.
Let's go
Thanks,
on
Al.
to weeds. Steve, the weed man. We have a number of others. We have item number 7 and 8 that when you're up here, we'll just take, if that's all right with everyone.
Good
Good
morning.
morning, Steve.
Good morning, Steve.
All right, to start out, our completion of weed spraying come to abrupt end with a hard freeze. Well, it got all the roads completed except for the state roads, basically just with the UTV, which corresponds with a lot less of an invoice that was given to the state. Have already received that so far. And being of that, so far this year, and so we had of the totals for hours of spraying, was 560 hours of spray time with 4,440 miles, 600 gallons of 2,4-D was used, 275.5 gallons of Tordon, and 11.5 gallons of glyphosate. Also, there was a little plateau used on a township that requested it for their leafy spurge. In comparison, it was down about 60 hours worth of spray time compared to last year, which would be in respect for the state roads of not getting all completed and stuff, so.
And that was primarily weather related.
That's mostly weather related. I also held off a little bit because the state was letting farmers do some haying a little bit later than their, what was required by law, so I wanted to kind of hold off, and I kind of monitored to see if there's anything bad, and I didn't really see anything that bad enough to really justify to go out and really try to hit it, so.
How many years have you been spraying, not broadcasting basically, but spot spraying?
I probably started spot spraying the county roads about 4 years ago, but in the last couple of years now, it's been more full intense on spot spraying. This year was totally on all the townships.
Okay.
I can tell that that's really made a difference.
Well, it makes a real big difference, especially in the budget and so that, and the usage.
used.
Yep.
So just an FYI, I have to estimate revenue on what I think we're going to collect, and I always use like a 3 or 4 year trend. So not getting the state's roads done will result in uncollected revenue.
Right.
Not that it's going to, but that's just how it works.
Right. Compared to this year, and so we had total of billed out this year was $40,054.73 billed out this year. of that, which includes the West Nile charges was $3,438.84. On the comparison note, last year was billed out a total of $49,306.48, and West Nile was $2,921.71. So, yeah, we're down about, 9,000 or so for compared to last year. On the years prior to that, because of broadcast spraying, it was 60, 70,000. So, it attributes to that it's a lot savings also for the townships and so that, and they need it this year, especially for all the roads that they need to do a lot of repair, so. Other notes, I attended the district meetings last week in Rapid City and Pierre, and this week I'll be heading tomorrow to Brookings for our local district meeting, and then I'll be going to Mitchell on Thursday. It's, when you go come to comparison level, when you go to the state conference, you mingle and talk and interact with other ones, but it's really unique when you go just to the districts and how you really find out a lot more in depth of their issues, of their problem solvings that they do, which was probably really unique to me for going to them and stuff like that. So, I guess I'll talk a little bit also on the West Nile and stuff like that. Had attended the conference up in Aberdeen this past month, and this year reported in the state there was a total of 10 West Nile cases in the state, which is really, really low. Arizona actually hit #1 for this year. In the comparison they had for the upper plains, last year was the high numbers. This year it's been down in the southwest. And I'm attributing probably more due with there's more heat and a little drier, which that accumulates for the West Nile cases. One of the things that they're really kind of paying attention to is the Eastern Equine Ecliptus virus. They call it the EEEV. Has had a huge increase in 2019, especially in the Great Plains and the Northeast area. I believe there has been cases that's been up into Minneapolis area. And so that is one thing that really kind of watching and monitoring.
Say it again. That's a
EEEV.
EEEV. Okay. That's an equine virus?
Yeah, it's an equine virus. It's basically kind of attributed to the horses and stuff, so.
Is that passed on to humans?
That is passed on to humans.
It has transmitted?
Yes, it does. And then another topic was with resistance and so that. They gave the comparison of like crops and livestock for when they're treating so that for different virus issues or different, I should say, effectiveness to kill mosquitoes. There are different modes of action for that. With the mosquitoes, there's none. There's only one main product, and they're concerned by people not doing the monitoring of the mosquitoes and just doing treatment when it is needed. They're afraid that by continually every week there could be immunity built up in the mosquitoes, and they've been doing testings for the last couple of years trying to monitor that. So
The same product that they would treat ponds with as they spray?
no, the ponds are different, but as far as modes of action for fogging and so that, it's basically about the same product as what you use for fly spray. It's the same product, but at a lower volume. So. I think that pretty well takes for my report.
All right, do you have any questions for Steve about his report? Anyone?
Good rundown. That's good.
All right, let's go on then to item number 7 on the agenda, and that's action to approve the purchase of a data logger equipment for the weed department. There is a handout in your packet. And first off, Steve, you might explain what's the data logger.
Okay, the data logger is a system that I got a couple years ago where it tracks you where you're spraying and gives you a chemical amount. The unit that I had in the truck and so that, basically it kept track of the two chemicals. That one there, I'm just going to strictly put into UTV. This unit actually will track each spray section of the truck. So if I'm spraying 10 foot, it will track 10 foot. It'll track 20 foot, 30 foot. And that's what I'm adding onto this truck with the additional of the equipment that I've received, and I gave the bill today to the invoice and so that for approval for that equipment on that truck.
So it's a more precise reading.
More precise readings, yes.
Is this a budgeted?
This is a budgeted item.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion by Van
Second
Dusen, second by Hatton. Any discussion? Any discussion?
Is this going to replace that other tracking system?
No, it's the same tracking system, but the one that I have in there now only just tracks where you're at, and you just enter amount 20 feet.
The one we had now come with the equipment, right?
The one we have now, I had purchased it a couple years ago.
Yes.
I had purchased that a couple years ago, and that one there is going to go in the Kubota and strictly into the Kubota. We transferred it back and forth to the truck in Kubota when we did spraying. This unit will strictly stay in the truck.
This is a standalone
Yes,
unit.
this is a standalone unit, yes.
Steve, this 3630, is that the correct amount?
That is the correct amount.
Okay, we would include that in the motion. Is
My
that
motion is to accept that bid, $3,630.
I'm okay with that.
All right, okay. Any other discussion? Anything else? Any other questions for Steve?
Yes, just
Go ahead.
one final question, or who does the IT on this thing?
They do out there. It's strictly any kind of problems they have, I call and they run me through in order to do it. I know we had some issues with the 240 ester recording. We did get that resolved and stuff like that. So, but yeah, the more and more I'm getting it, now I'm getting into the point where I'm going to start layering each year to know what spots were sprayed on this equipment, on this stuff.
And where is this? Where is
Sheridan, Wyoming is where they're located.
that's where these guys
Yep,
are located?
yep.
Okay.
They come to our weed conference pretty well every year and stuff, so.
Am I correct in saying that this system is also, of course, connected or works with the GPS, so as you
Yes.
drive down the road, it identifies
It,
where the weeds were last year?
Yes, and that's what I'm trying to get is the overlay to know if these spots have moved and stuff, so.
Be a good system.
Okay, any other questions? Good questions. Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Approved, same sign, motion carries. Let's go on to item number 8, and that's to appoint a city liaison to the weed board. And Steve, you've given us a suggestion, Ron Mooring, and I do kind of know Ron. Give us a little background on Ron.
Okay, Ron Moyne had worked for the state for several years. He had worked for the game fish and parks for quite a few years. In the last 20 years, he had worked for Department of Ag as the, how should I put it, the weed supervisor technician. So he was basically kind of more or less in charge of a lot of the weed supervisors throughout the state. If any of you have gone to the farm show and so that winter farm show, he usually sits at the booth, usually towards the weekends of that for the past several years. He had retired this past year and has moved back to Watertown. And in my research trying to find somebody, I kind of questioned and asked him a couple questions, and he says, you know, I would love to be on your board. So that's why I'm coming
That's
to
the
you
kind of people we
today.
like on board, so would love to be on the board. You bet. That's good. I would entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion.
We have a motion by Commissioner Gable, a second by Waterman, to approve this appointment. and you'll notify him then?
Yes, I will.
All right,
I will
and-
see him tomorrow.
The chairman of the city council happens to be in the audience, so the city council is now aware of this as well. Very good. Any other discussion or question? Lee?
So this person is the city liaison, are they also a voting member of the board, or is this their?
They're a voting member of the weed board.
Okay.
Yep.
Right.
And he replaces,
He replaces Jay DeLang, which retired this past year, and he has, I don't know if he has moved yet, but he is moving to Sioux Falls.
yep. All right, any more discussion, any more questions? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries. Thank you, Steve.
You bet.
Thanks, Steve.
Thanks.
All right, next item is the welfare report, and Sarah will not be here. She is homesick, but she sent out her report by electronic, and everybody should have it. Did everybody get it? Yes. Also, there is a handout in the packet today, I do believe.
There is.
There is, yeah. So it's this one here. Does anybody have any questions in reference to her report? Anything?
Are you going to answer them?
No, but we can pass them on and get them answered.
I have a brief review. There were 47 people served for 17 utilities, 6 medical, 12 housing, 2 homeless, 3 emergency services grant, 3 economic assistance, and 4 burials. There were $5,030.54 in funds expended and $2,366.51 saved using other resources.
Does that help? We had probably a little bit, the number for burials was a little bit higher than it normally is. It's that time of the year.
Chairman Johnson, there's one thing that might come up in future welfare deals, and I noticed that the homeless number, I'm expecting it, they're a little bit suspicious that it might be going up with the closing of the Palace and the Ritz and a few other properties that might have provided housing for some people that might need some assistance.
I'm going to request the city council put in some nice benches in that park they're going to build down there so they can sleep in those benches. So, that going to work?
Because the Ritz had what? Not the Ritz.
I think they have,
Had about 40 people in it?
The Ritz I know nothing about. It's a palace that...
I think there was
involved in.
9 people at the Palace, I think.
No,
So,
9 left?
yeah.
Okay.
that's about right.
I had heard 40 or 45.
No.
Okay, good.
Well, that's an issue that we'll have to be out in front of, and so thank you for bringing it to our attention and making us aware of it. So, yeah, it could have an effect on the homeless. Any other comments? Any other questions? Seeing none,
The
let's go
county
on then.
actually, I was just going to add to that, the county actually has a room that we were paying for on a monthly basis for that as well. So I suppose we will need to relocate to find another place.
Yes, we had a room on the 4th floor.
Yep.
Yeah, so.
Is that the one they don't accept pets?
I'm sure Sarah's probably already working on it.
Yeah, I'm sure she is, yeah. All right, let's go on then to item number 9, then, action to approve the purchase of scanner equipment for the register of deeds, and Ann walked in just almost as though she was right on
Almost like
time.
you were watching online, maybe.
Yeah,
Well, it's just kind of because I was trying to get some stuff done, so I'm like, oh.
and she
Morning,
is
Ann.
requesting...
Well, and Al come walking in, and I'm still watching him on here. I'm like,
Get
over that. Delayed, yeah.
Her request is to purchase a scanner, and that is, the information on that is in your packet, but go ahead, Ann, fill us in.
okay. We've had our scanner for about 8 years, I think it's going on. And just as far as replacing rollers and things like that, it's getting, so we can't get the parts anymore. So we're going to need a new scanner. I'm kind of recommending the top one, the Fujitsu scanner, F17460. Requesting to purchase that one. I've talked to our software company, and that brand seems to work the best with their software. And I know we went with an HP the first time, and we've had issues where it kicks us out and just different issues with that. So I think going this route would be better.
More compatible.
Yeah. I'm not going to recommend that 3-year warranty, though. I don't think that's really necessary.
And that's the price, $28.50?
Yep.
I'll make a motion that we
The
approve this.
motion by Hatton,
Second.
second by Waterman, and the motion,
Is to approve the whatever scanner and not the 3-year warranty for $28.50.
and that's all right with Commissioner Waterman.
That's the highlighted one, correct?
And can you use your M&P funds for this?
I can.
Okay, all right, unless you're saving them for, I just was curious
Yeah.
if this qualified. And I'm sure you've budgeted for it anyway,
Right.
your normal
Yeah,
budget.
because
But I was
it's
just
in. I've
curious.
still got
Okay,
my
yep,
normal
I was
It
just
is a
curious.
budgeted item.
Yeah.
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 All right, any more discussion? Anything else? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, there you go. Ann.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ann.
Motion approved. All right, this is number 10, an item we've been waiting for, the community's been waiting for quite some time. And this is action to appoint an emergency management director to replace Mr. Sutton that is going to retire. And I would just, prior to making the announcement, I'd like to thank the people that did apply for this position. We had 6 candidates. We interviewed each of them and had some very, very worthy candidates. And there was an interview committee. The interview committee was made up of myself, Brad, Sheriff Brad, Jim, Commissioner Waterman, Terry Satterley. Who am I missing? I think, and me. Yeah. And so we worked them over pretty hard. I always think about years back when I interviewed with the board of directors, and it's always interesting when you interview with a board of directors. So you got 5, 6 people asking you questions, and who's going to come up with what kind of a question. But the candidates did very well. But we had one that the cream comes to the top, and in this case it did. And at this time, I would like to introduce James Thorstensen, our new emergency management director. James? And
Actually, you
Jim?
need to take motion, action first.
Yeah. Surprise!
Before you, yeah.
Well, that's all cut and dried. All right, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by
I'll second.
Hatton, seconded by Gable or
Van Duzen.
Van Duzen. Any discussion? I think our discussion will be is, which one of you would like to tell us about, I call him James, but he goes by Jamie, right?
Correct.
So let's get that, what would you like to be called?
Jamie.
Jamie, all right, let's start out there. All right, Jamie. You want to tell us about yourself a little bit, so the whole world will know about it?
Jamie, lean into the mic if you would.
Sure. Lifelong resident of Watertown, born and raised here. Actually graduated, had numerous fun stuff to do. Back actually got interested in EMS and became an EMT the senior year of my high school due to helping out an incident with a colleague classmate at a parking lot that broke his leg and got me kick-started on the EMS side of the world. Carried that EMT license for a few years. Ended up doing that, conquering that, volunteered a little bit here and there for some volunteer community service type stuff. Actually kind of let it go for a while. Got back into it when the CERT team, if you guys can remember that. Ended up joining that and actually did a tour in 2006 with the Cottington County Search and Rescue Team with Mr. Pat Culhane, if you remember him as commander, and he recruited me. And at that time, I think, Jim, you had just become EM a couple years prior to that, if I remember right. And that's where I got my start, and probably a vast majority of 90% of my training in the last 13 and a half years has been through emergency management. Just about 14 years of your 16-year career. Right. And that's who I credit. whether it's incident command, the hazmat stuff, and the things that I've been through. And that's where I'm at today. Excited to be given the opportunity. Really thank the people that encouraged me. Because I just about said, but no, actually, it's a neat field. I have a lot to learn, trust me. Refresh a lot of things, but I look forward to it. I'll obtain them. It should be good.
Very good, thank you. Did we vote on the?
No, you did not.
Oh,
You have
we
a
better
motion
vote.
and a second.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries. Congratulations, you are now officially
I'm official.
the Cudahy County Emergency Management as of January 1. All right, Jim, you want to fill us in? And
Just that, I look forward to working with Jamie. He's well qualified. He's had a lot of the training that's required to go into this position. And the thing about Jamie is he's a hard worker. And if you know him and you get to know him, he's a people person. And that's very important for this position, to be able to reach out to the rural fire departments and the city councils throughout the county. And that's going to be one of his pluses there, is that he's a people person and he gets along very well.
thank you. For the chair of the city council that's sitting in the audience, one of the things that I really appreciated was that the comment was made that Jamie has worked with the police department, the fire department, is on a first-name basis with those people, as well as all of the county officials. And county officials, I mean by every fire department chief in the county knows Jamie. He's helped them out during the raffles and done a lot of things with the community, so we really appreciate that. Like Jim said, he's a people person, so congratulations, Jamie, and welcome aboard.
Well, thank you.
Call sign is now 5EM 1.5.
1.5.
Good job.
31 days?
Any questions for Jamie or Jim?
Excited to have you on board.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Look forward to working with you.
It's going to be good to serve.
Thank you. And the press got that, right? Did you get a picture of Jamie before he gets out here?
You need his, spelling of his name?
Yeah.
It's Torstenson, T-O-R-S-T-E-N-S-O-N?
That's what I've got.
All right.
I will double check.
Close enough.
I have it T-H-O-R-S-T-E-N-S-O-N.
I wasn't even close. T-H.
That's correct, I think. At least that's what he had on his application, so.
Say it again, T-H-O.
I don't know that there's an H in there.
Hang on.
Maybe we should ask him.
T-H-O-R-S.
Yeah.
He's right back there.
Yeah.
Yeah, you probably should.
Yeah, good.
So we make sure we get it right in
to
the
spell your name.
notes.
And I think in his application,
Pronounce it correctly.
it's James, is his official name.
That's a good name. I don't know why he wants to
I
go by
know.
Jamie.
All right, we need a spelling on your last name.
I do have it now. No H.
T-H-O-R?
No H.
Take the H out.
Oh, take the H out.
Take the H out. Torstenson.
I got this right off.
I get asked if I'm related to the sports announcer from KSFY, whoever that is.
T-O-R-S-T.
T-O-R-S-T-E-N-S-O-N. Torstenson.
All right. J-A-M-I-E. All right.
Unless we believe it's right.
All right.
Got it.
I think
Thanks,
that's
Jamie.
a question answered. Thank you. As far as the details, we had indicated to Jamie that he would start January 1 and that Jim would stay on until the end of the month. So he gives him a month to work with Jim, and Jim has been so kind and all of the things he's done for us in the past, 17 years? Or
16 years.
How many?
16 years and
Seems like
some months.
17, huh?
Yeah.
Oh,
We will
We're
have
working on
personnel
things.
change form filled out also
And
by the first.
and in that period of time, in that 30 days, he's going to introduce him to some of the state people that Jim has had the opportunity to work with, so that when someone from Pierre calls, he can put a a name with a face, and that always makes it a little bit easier. And we appreciate you doing that, Jim.
You bet. Glad to help out. And, you know, as I said before, the county's been very good to me, and I've enjoyed working with everybody here. So if there's anything that I can do to help out with the transition, I'm more than glad to do that.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you.
Okay.
We also, and I don't know if this was the time, but we also
Going right
did
before springtime, you know that.
visit in reference to where he would start on the,
You're going to need to put this all in a personnel change form.
very good.
Okay.
Okay, we'll handle it at that
Okay,
time. Okay? All right, anything else for Jim?
He's got number 11.
Number 11, that's the reason I'm sticking around.
Yep, I'm ready. We're at number 11 is FEMA update on the second disaster declaration request to the governor. And just for our general public information, we were denied. Go ahead, Jim. You can explain it.
We submitted documentation requesting a second disaster declaration for Cottington County for damage that we've had to county and township roads. That, when they made the request to the president on the state level, the Cottington County was not included in that request. And I've been working with the State Office of Emergency Management, I've been talking with them, and we will be afforded an opportunity to appeal that. And there's some information that I provided to them since the denial that they weren't aware of, that they may not have thought of, you know, with the necessity for raising these roads back up out of the water. One of the things that I'd really pointed out is, you know, when you have to drive an extra 9 miles with an ambulance to respond to an emergency situation, you know, you're talking probably another 12 to 15 minutes it takes you to get there. And, you know, I advise them, you know, that 12 to 15 minutes, that's, in many cases, the difference between life and death. And that's one of the reasons that, you know, that I feel that we have justification, you know, for doing the work that we have to do. And then not only that, you know, there's township roads in the area that can be driven, but those township roads are in worse condition than the county roads. And in many cases, there's water up to the edges of the roads. They're very soft. There's no way that you could get a fire department water tanker to go down those roads. So there again, in case of a fire, we're looking at, you know, that 15 minutes or more additional time to get on scene, and there again, that could be the difference between life and death. So just so that you're aware that we were denied and that we are working on it, and I have.
Who sent us the denial? Where did that come from?
That came from the Office of Emergency Management, the State Office of Emergency Management. Okay. And I've been dealing with a gentleman by the name of Tyler Steen there at the Office of Emergency Management in Pierre. So, you know, if you commissioners are, you know, in Pierre, if you want to sit down and visit with them, you know, it helps for us to, you know, to reach out and talk to the politicians and the state employees about this, because we definitely need to get included in on that disaster declaration, because it wasn't necessary for us to you know, raise those grades so that we have access, and especially in the wintertime. Township roads snow in, and they aren't opened in a timely manner. In some cases, if there's nobody living along a stretch of a road, the townships don't open them, period. So,
Jim, what was the reason for the justification of denying that request?
That there's another route available to them, you know, that you can drive an additional 9 miles and come around from the backside and get in. But that's not the fastest nor the most direct route when responding to an emergency.
Just as a point of interest, the board passed the declaration of emergency disaster on the 8th of October by resolution.
That's when our request went in.
Yep.
And I know Rick highway superintendent, he does communicate with Tyler from time to time, and be sure and put in a plug for us.
Yeah, Rick has been communicating with the Office of Emergency Management, and he's provided some very valuable information for justifying why we needed to do the road, raise the grades on the roads.
So we appreciate Rick and Jim working on this project, and anytime we get a chance to speak to our local legislators, we'll do that.
Rick, how many roads do we have right now that are being raised? I know I took a ride with you here, about 2 weeks ago, and we went over one out by McKilligan's.
We're on the last one that they had to drive through water. The rest of them, the water has approached on the shoulder. The roadway is still open. And we're working on the last one that had water over the road.
How many have you raised total so far?
We're only on the second one.
Second?
But
Okay.
we've got numerous to go before it gets too hard.
Right, yeah.
It'd be tough to meet a combine right now in those other ones, wouldn't it?
I think, Rick, how many of you worked on totally this year, you know, as far as raising them up? I know of at least 4 now.
There's 4 or 5 that we've worked on to get them lined out a little bit. And currently, we don't have any that are underwater at the current time. We still have 2 that are closed. They're still traveling them. We have signs up there going around the barricades because of harvest and whatever, you know, but currently we do not have any that are underwater. There's some that, like I said, have water up on the shoulder, but the roadway is open.
And there's 2 roads that they've been working on here recently, and those 2 roads went underwater as a result of the heavy rains that we received back in September. So they've worked on other roads throughout the summer, but these 2 roads went underwater recently, and Rick has done a very good job of documenting, you know, like on County Road 8, he has pictures showing what the road looked like before September, and he has a picture showing what happened after the heavy rains in September. So,
And why that's important is because the disaster declaration is for that time period.
that's correct. That's correct. And we requested assistance for a couple of the townships and for the county for damage during that time period.
Right. I was with Rick on Friday and seeing those 2 roads that you were talking about and a few others that, like you said, they're just right up there, so.
Right.
And these are county roads. Just to keep it separate, these are not township roads.
That's correct.
Anytime a county road goes under and then they choose to drive a township roads, the township roads get beat up twice as fast. So it's important that we get these opened up and back in service again.
Correct. And especially, you know, during the harvest season, you know, in the fall of the year, when the farmers are hauling commodities to town, be it grain or livestock, you know, those township roads aren't built for the heavy loads that we see out on the roads. So, like you said, it's very important that, you know, for the citizens of Cottington County to get those roads back open.
We consider those farm-to-market roads.
That's correct.
That's what they are.
Yep.
All right, any more questions? Anything else for Jim? Thank you, Jim.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
all your work and the many years of service you've provided us, and now don't lead Jamie astray, all right?
I'll try not to.
Okay, all right, let's go on then, item number 12. We've got a couple of applications here, action to approve abatement applications. There are 2 of them in your file. Cindy, take us.
2 abatement applications. The first one is for record number 12321. This was property that, portion of the property was destroyed due to a fire. The abatement allowed on that one is $6,414.10. The second one is on record number 12229. This property owner qualifies for a state program. The amount to be abated is $273.98.
Move to approve.
Motion by Hatton, second by Gable. Any discussion? These both have been approved or okayed by the city as well.
They have been sent to the city. I
Sent
have
to the
not-
city,
yeah.
haven't been approved yet.
I have
Sent to
not
the
have
city.
gotten them back yet.
We have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? Any more discussion? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. The motion carries. All right, Rick, Highway Department, we've got a number of items here that pertain to you. First was item number 15, action to approve a gravel hauling quote. And that is in your packet.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
The quote I had was from Neil Jacobson to help us haul gravel. I think he pretty much got done with what the gravel he had to haul, so he volunteered to help us haul. And it was, I think it was 28.5 cents per ton per loaded mile.
28 cents is what the quote
28,
says.
okay, excuse me.
Okay.
I should have wrote it on my notes. And I think there was a minimum of 9-mile haul.
Minimum of 9 miles, minimum legal payload of 22 tons.
All right, you've heard the request. We have a motion by
make a motion.
Waterman and a second by Gable.
Sure.
Any discussion? Any discussion? I do know Neil, and I know that he will do a good job. He has good equipment.
Yeah, he's already sent his certificate of liability insurance. That was laying on my desk this morning, and I sent it to Cindy, so
It doesn't surprise me a bit. All right, any more discussion? Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. All right, so let's go on then to item number 14, which is action to approve a notice to bidders for riprap delivery and installation. And that also is in your packet.
Make a motion to approve that.
We have a motion by Lee. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Waterman. Any discussion? Any discussion? Go ahead. Rick, you want to fill us in on the details here?
This is 8-2 is the county road that we built up that Jim was just talking about. It's pretty much done. We may have a little work to do on the shoulder before they can get in there and riprap it. We've opened that section of road back up. We put some delineator posts on top of the road so the traffic can get through there. We haven't had any issues. There's a couple soft spots that aren't bad, but it's in pretty good shape. The other two is County Road 8-1. We still have some work to do on that as far as building it up. 4-1, there's a little bit.
Okay, which is the 8-1?
8-1 is
South?
east, no, it's 6 miles north of Henry
Okay, yep.
and a half mile to the east.
Is that the last site that you were talking about that you guys were working on that day, or is this
We
the other one?
hadn't got to that yet.
Okay, that was
I
that
think we
second
drove
one.
through that.
Yep. Okay.
4-1 is south of Wallace.
Yeah.
And then back to the east, 1.5 miles.
Yeah.
That needs a little work done on the shoulder, but that also needs some riprap because that has riprap on the south side of the road because the body of water is bigger. But the north side this summer, this spring, the water got high enough. That water will eventually go down, but it needs some riprap to keep it from deteriorating.
Is there a closed basin up there as well where that is?
No, that one runs into Grass Lake, and then Dry Lake, and then out. But the water is so high right now that it,
Is there a culvert in there?
yeah,
that- okay.
yeah, there's a culvert in there.
All right, any more questions? Any more questions? Any other comments? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. All right, and I think there's a couple more here. Next one is action to approve a notice to bidders for culvert installation. And there's 3 of them, I think, right? 3 culverts?
I'm gonna cancel that one for now.
All right.
I told Cindy when I put this one on, I didn't know if I'd have it completely done. I was hoping to have it done, but I'm still working with Clark Engineering about putting culverts in this road to alleviate some of the water pressure back to the west.
Which road is that?
This is County Road 23-4, And the one that has the water pressure on it is 6-1, which would be straight west of Medicine Lake.
Okay?
Because this was on the agenda, I'll probably note in the minutes that you're canceling this notice and
Okay.
may bring it back at a later
Yeah,
date.
hopefully I'll be able to do it next week, but I'm not sure, because there's a couple landowners that I'm gonna have to deal with, and
Okay.
so.
And we went out, Brenda, Commissioner Hanton and I went out and spoke with that landowner over the weekend and took a look at that situation. And she's talked with you about that, I take it, so, okay. I would
We
like
can
to be
leave
a
it on
part
the
of that
agenda
conversation
for
as
next
well.
Yep.
Hopefully I'll have it
Okay?
ready to go. If not, we'll have to postpone it again, but.
Well, if it's
We're-
on the agenda, that'll push you a little bit. All right?
Yep.
All right, then
Some
let's
of
go
these
on
things,
to,
there's a lot of details.
There is.
Yep.
let's go on then to item number 16. Again, that's action to approve a contract with Banner Associates or Banner Associates for bridge rehabilitation engineering services. And there are copies of that request in your packet. And there are 4 of them. I said 3 before, I meant 4.
This is to spend some of that money that was allocated to the county earlier this summer. There was $134,000 to replace a bridge deck on County Road 75 east of town. And Banner will take care of putting that all together, getting it to bid.
And this is, I'll second that, and this is one of the bridges that was on our
Yes.
list of bridges that needed to be repaired.
Yep, and that's just deck, riprap, new guardrails, because there's gaps in the bridge deck right now, so it needs to have something done with it.
Okay.
All right.
The contract is not to exceed $32,400.
Second.
All right.
We already have a
had
motion and a second.
second.
Yeah. Gable made the motion, I seconded it.
All right, any more discussion?
So how does this fit with the original money that you mentioned, 100 and some thousand? Is that from the big program, or how does this work?
No,
with the
this
big
was
program?
money that,
The
trying to remember.
STP?
yeah, I think
Okay.
the STP
All right.
came back.
STP money.
Okay, all right.
Good question, though. Any more questions? Any more comments? Any more thoughts? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries. And we're not done with Rick yet. Item number 17, action to approve the purchase of a 2019 truck for the Highway Department. And that is in your packet as well. Go ahead, Rick.
This is a pickup for the assistant superintendent. The one he is currently driving has between 203 and 204,000 miles on it. I don't really feel good about when he goes out in the morning to check roads at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning in the wintertime to have a vehicle with that many miles on it.
I'll make a motion to approve.
By motion by Hatton, second by Gable.
Are we
Discussion?
trading that other one in then, or are you keeping that as a
We'll keep that as just something to,
bear or whatever?
Yep.
Should announce the bidder and, or the quote and the name.
The bidder, the Sharp Automotive, and the amount is $33,125. Is that correct?
yes.
And this is
Okay.
a budgeted item.
No, it is not.
But you do have the money in the budget?
Yes.
Are you-
This was not a budgeted item. It should have been put on this year's budget, but it was not.
Okay. Right.
So,
Why didn't you use the state pool?
because I can buy it off the state bid, or not the state bid, but I can buy it here locally in town. It'll cost me a little bit more to buy it here in town, but it's a local bid, or a local vendor,
And
otherwise.
it does not need to be bid because it's under $50,000.
So,
So
thanks
it
for
does not
using
need-
local.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm using a local
Do your
vendor.
business locally, right?
Yes.
Technically, it does not qualify for bids because
No.
it's under 50,000.
Yes.
My only question is, what color is it?
Should be white.
It should be white. Just got to make certain that it lines up with everything else. Any more discussion?
Rick, is there equipment that's going to have to go into this truck in addition to the cost of the truck? Radios, that sort of thing?
Yeah, it'll come from the old pickup.
Okay, just transfer that equipment
Transfer it
over. Okay.
Yep, there would be a radio, a counter. That's pretty much it.
Lights, probably.
Lights, yep,
The light bar.
yep.
All right, any more questions? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you, Rick.
Thanks, Rick.
Thanks, Rick.
Back to work.
I think you got some more.
Yeah, you do.
Keep the right away.
Yep.
Oh, the utilities, huh?
Rick show.
Oh, no, the right-of-way and the utilities. Number here, right here.
next.
18 and 19.
Oh, yeah, okay. Let's go on then. Rick, we're not done with you, I guess.
On the right of way, we don't have enough stuff going on. We're gonna get a new bridge next spring. So this is up on County Road 4, 5. It'd be west of County Road 11. This has been in the works for a long time, and it's finally, I've got emails about it going to bid, I think the 20th of March of next year. And the right-of-way, I have one signature from Linda Mogg, and I need to get two more signatures for the other side. There's a little bit of land there that they're going to use, but not very much because it's all water on both sides, so.
So there's no, are there any funds involved
No,
okay.
In acquiring the easements.
no.
Make a-
There was nothing.
All right.
Make a motion to approve this right away.
Second.
certificate.
We have a motion by Hatton, second by Van Dusen. Any discussion? Any questions? Any questions? Seeing none, all in favor?
I've got,
You got one?
yeah, I've got a number that you need to, hang on to it. I've got the whole stack here.
Oh,
so
okay.
It's easier
All right.
to keep track.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries. All right, number 19 on the agenda, action to authorize the chair to sign a utility certificate, and that is,
This is on the same bridge.
And it requires the county to do what?
We'll have to talk to the company that has the utilities on there, and we'll have to come up with a price on what it's gonna be to have those moved.
Okay.
Because the bridge will be taken out, so they'll have to be
Temporarily.
temporarily.
Is that going to be our expense?
That I'm not exactly sure. I don't think it will be. I think it belongs to the utility company.
Utility companies? Yeah.
it's Connie Clark Electric and CenturyLink.
I'll make a motion to approve that.
Motion by
Second
Van
that.
Dusen,
Second.
second by Hatton. Any more discussion? Any discussion?
Has to be done.
Yeah.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye. It'll just
Opposed, same sign, motion
be
carries.
good to get another bridge that's been on the list taken care of, so.
Yeah, this one's been on the list for a long time, because it went to plans quite a while ago, and they're just got information that next spring they're gonna let it go to bid, so.
Good.
Looks like we're done with you, Rick. Do you have any, you're right in the thick of it. I know that there's been a tremendous amount of traffic in the county. This would involve the deputies and the sheriff as well as the highway department. I know we have wind tower people coming from the west and from the northeast. And what's the status on the roads? Any issues that we have to deal with?
No, for the most part, they're pretty good. I've only had two complaints. One was early and one was last week. And I met with the Blattner people, and they took care of it, so, and it wasn't on our road. It was on a township road, so.
And they've been really good about
Yeah, they-
addressing any of the issues there.
Yep. So they, like I said, unless the people are calling Blattner, I'm not getting the calls, so.
Yeah. And I'm not getting them, and I drove it again yesterday. I drive it probably every other day now, for sure. And there is a little bit of an issue that I'm expecting to get some calls that is mud on the highway, on County Road 6 and then the road going up at South Shore. But it's not the wind tower people, it's the farmers.
I was gonna say.
They're trying to combine corn and they're coming out, and I swear there was one farmer that pulled out of the field just to clear his tires off before he went back for another round. But a lot of mud on the road out there, so producers, I know you're busy and I know it's just one of those things, but we had an incident out west of town here a while back that turned out not very good for the producer and the landowner, and we don't want that to happen. And if there's somebody pops over a hill with a small car and hits a a big chunk of mud, that come off a tire, the farmer's going to be responsible for that, so be very, very careful. And I just hope that it dries up. I mean, let's hope that the Lord can help take care of this problem, all right?
Well,
Maybe the
you can
frost.
keep the sun out a little more often.
That sure helped, wouldn't it? Yeah. Any other thing for Rick? Thank you for all your work, and keep up the good work. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Rick.
Thanks.
All right, item number 20, action to approve claims for payment.
Claims we have today are payroll claims in the amount of $577,718.72. Nothing out of the ordinary. It includes all the step increases that you previously requested or approved in the last month.
Move to approve those.
Motion by Hatton, second by, who was it?
I think it was me.
Any discussion? Any discussion? Any comments? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carried. How about budget supplements?
None today.
That's good news. Number 22.
They're coming.
They're coming. Are you
That's
forewarned?
not good news.
Yep, I am forewarning.
All right, action to approve personnel changes, item number 22, and we have a number of them.
Alyssa Hart is a clerk in the auditor's office, due an anniversary step increase to step 8, $18.69 an hour. Janet Beavers is a deputy in the treasurer's office, due an anniversary step increase to step 12, $23.79. Maria Escamilla is our corrections sergeant in the detention center. She's due a step increase to step 11, $24.13 an hour. Jennifer Matek is a correctional officer, do an anniversary increase to step 13, $23.51 per hour. Kayla Showmaker is a correctional officer, do a step increase to step 6, $20.96 per hour. And Sherry Howell is the secretary in the emergency management office, do a step increase to step 7, $18.32 an
I'll
hour.
make the motion to
Yeah,
approve.
motion by Van Duzen. Second. Second by, was that Gable or Waterman? Any discussion? With a group of people, what about this one? We act on this one today?
No, this is the one I just gave you.
Yeah.
That's not included.
That'll be next
I
week.
just prepared it.
Okay, I just was wondering if you were going to push this.
No, because I have no idea what you're intending there, so.
The one that I'm referring to is the one for,
I just prepared the one for Jamie for you
For
guys
Jamie.
to get filled in, so.
all right.
Motion and a second.
We have a motion and a second. Any more discussion or any discussion at all? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries. Let's go on to item number 23, which is to approve travel requests. We've got a couple of them.
Rick Hartley, the highway superintendent, has requested authorization to attend the county highway superintendent executive board meeting in Huron.
Move to approve.
Motion by Hatton, second by Gable. Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign, motion carries. Number 24 is public notice, possible quorums for commissioners present. Is there any this week that anyone knows of?
Mr. Chair, I have a couple. Coming up tonight is the 2020 Watershed Outlook, part of the Mike Williams Lecture Series at Lake Area Tech. That kicks off at 7 o'clock at Lake Area Tech. And Roger Foote and Gillespie from the National Weather Service office will be there if anybody wants to attend that on what's coming up with the Northern Watershed. Also, Watertown Hall of Fame banquet is coming up on Friday. That'll be at 11:30 at the event center, and there could be a quorum of commissioners at that event.
Also, as Al mentioned, there could possibly be a quorum of commissioners Friday morning at the Canadian the opening ceremony at the Redland Center.
Canadian Veterans Wall.
I
Vietnam
do
Veterans
need
Wall.
to know who intends to attend number B there, the Sioux Valley Commissioner District meeting. It's in Huron. It's their first time hosting.
I plan to be there. So.
I plan to be there.
And I already discussed what I'm
Yep.
going to do.
All right.
So just Gable and I?
That's all I hear.
Yeah.
Mine will be last minute. We'll see.
Okay.
Possibly.
So we ride together. So, okay, anything else? Anything else?
Mr. Chairman, on the CCJC meeting, Just the major item for discussion is just an update on the juvenile detention alternative initiative, so we made some progress there. So people might want to attend. It's, not a jail
This is a
building.
meeting that was postponed.
This is the one that was postponed from, this, because of the bad weather on October 10th, I think it was. And so, but same time and place, just a different date. So, but that's,
And Lee, give my best regards to the new members of that committee. Mr. Viala and I will be in Pier. We probably won't be back in time for that meeting. We'll be attending a retirement meeting out there, so.
well, you can listen to the audio recording afterwards. You can binge listen to that, so.
Actually, you do a good job with the minutes, and I read the minutes the other night from the last meeting, and keep up the good work. Appreciate that.
Yeah, that's,
All right, anything else? The only other thing is we talked about the VA clinic and so on. How about old business? We got any old business to bring before the board today? Any old business? Any new business?
Mr. Chairman, go ahead, Brenda.
Go ahead.
I would mention that last, what day was that, Lee? Friday? Anyway.
Friday, yeah, it was Friday.
Lee and I met with an individual, and, this Reno Dry is going to be back in front of us again to see if that's something that we want to go forward with. First of all, it's important that the drainage around our courthouse is doing what it's supposed to do, and so we had an individual here that is not involved in that business whatsoever, but is very familiar with slopes and how things should be. He was a previous builder, contractor, and so he came and looked, and we do have some issues around our courthouse that probably should be addressed that would alleviate seepage into the courthouse.
Yeah, so if I could piggyback on what Commissioner Hanton said. So I appreciate Commissioner Hanton arranging that walkthrough. So yeah, as a concerned member of the public just came and said, you might want to think about the grading around the courthouse. If you're thinking about the Reno Dry device in order to deal with the rising damp in the masonry. So there are different places that moisture can come from in a foundation of a building. One, of course, it's just groundwater that gets in if the grade is not good. And so he just walked around the courthouse with us, and overall, if you look at the courthouse block, the grade looks good. But as you get close to the building, there's a couple spots that probably needed a little attention. And so, the question is going to be if we do want to fix that, which is what has higher priority or is a bit more urgent than the other. Is it dealing with rising damp, which is a slow process, or grade, which could be something that causes a problem kind of quickly if you have a lot of water. So I guess we'll probably need to talk about how to approach that with Milo, but I think we're going to have to, we're kind of in a spot, I think, where we might have to prioritize between those two things. And so it might be a time thing, it might be phasing. I think some of us probably need to be persuaded on, whether or not the Reno Dry device is the proper thing to deal with rising damp as well. So
I think we're talking about, I agree with you, Commissioner Gable. I think we're talking about two separate issues. As I understand, the Reno Dry system is more for humidity and moisture in the cement or the block?
It's resident in masonry, so it's two different sources of moisture. One is just groundwater. That's what you deal with when you deal with grade and, roof drainage and all that stuff. And then, but then there's, at the molecular level, basically in the masonry, that's kind of what Reno Dry is dealing with. So there's two different issues.
Like a dehumidifier, basically, for the basement.
But you have to prioritize. I mean, money is finite, so we have to prioritize.
With the improper grade and the influx of moisture seeping in can add to, your added moisture that you're dealing with. So if you have it shedding away, maybe some of those numbers may change.
That's how I understand it. The other, I had another new business item, Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I had I'm part of the statewide CLERP board, so Catastrophic Legal Expense Reimbursement Program.
What board?
CLERP, Catastrophic Legal Expense Reimbursement. So that's it's basically an insurance pool of all the counties in the state, most of the counties in the state except for the two largest ones, Minnehaha and Pennington, to deal with the very expensive court trials that happen in counties, such as murder trials. So just for FYI, we had 3 counties that had claims in excess of $100,000 each for murder trials. So you can imagine that this is kind of an expensive thing you don't want to deal with too often, and that's the purpose of the pool. Just FYI, though, there was a claim that came in after the agenda was put together for this meeting that was, I want to say, it was over 100, I think it was about at least $150,000 claim from another county, which is going to mean another assessment for the clerk pool. So just, I think that's going to be something that's going to...
Before the end of the year?
Yeah, it sounds like it.
Okay.
So, in fact, I think
No,
Chris
we
used the
have
term
not
emergency.
spent the whole budget, but let me look.
Yeah. So we have a clerk line item?
Yeah, we did.
Okay. Be good to know how much is left there. I think it's,
Pretty hard, though.
you know, I mean, it's been a busy year for that fund.
In each county, when you belong to that, you pay a
I
certain,
think we have a claim that we're paying in November, so I don't know what that is for sure, but we do have $18,000 left in the catastrophic.
It sounds to me like this, well, we'll see what the assessment is,
Okay.
but Chris has to calculate that out, because it's based somewhat on the results of our meeting, you know, the things we didn't reimburse and...
We
you know, the
budgeted
deductibles.
$40,000, we've been assessed $21,880, and then whatever our next assessment is that's coming with bills
think it's-
next week.
My guess is it's going to be similar to the last one, so...
Yeah, I'm
All right.
thinking it's probably around $8,000, so that would leave us with about $10,000 in the budget.
It'd still be all right.
Yeah.
Well, depending on what the
Yeah, yeah.
extra
So
assessment
it's
is.
gonna-
Okay,
So just FYI, you know, this stuff
Okay.
goes on, and it's,
all right.
you know, it's...
That's why we belong to the pool, to protect ourselves.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right. Anything else? Anything else? How about the open? Anything for the open?
Regarding public comments, I'm going to pass around, you can each take one. There's been a lot of discussion lately amongst the counties on public comment section of the agenda and having it on the agenda, and then actually there are some counties that have adopted guidelines. So I'd just like you to look at this and see if this is something you would be wanting to actually adopt your own guidelines. This could be, you know, tweaked to whatever we need. It's for your protection. Because there have been a number of county commission meetings that have had some,
Around the state, in
Yes.
other counties of the state.
yes, very disruptive meetings, and just to have something in place for the public comment might be a good idea.
So what, if this is violated, what are the repercussions of violation of this?
Well,
I mean, it says that,
This is just a guideline for you to follow, so
So
that
we
if
can say
somebody
you're
gets
not-
out of line, you have
something that we've
something to
adopted.
fall back on.
We've
Yeah, this
adopted
is our
this.
procedure.
so
Yeah.
say
There's probably not gonna
you
be-
violated this, you're out?
Probably not going to be any criminal charges that would
Right,
result,
right.
but
Okay.
there's just been a lot of discussion lately because there have been apparently some open meeting
Yeah.
violations.
The importance of having a procedure or policy, though, is it gets us all on the same sheet of music.
Yeah.
It's public, so the public knows how we handle those
Yes.
situations.
at this point in time, by making that announcement prior to the meeting, allowing people the opportunity to come forward with any public comment, we're covering ourselves.
Right.
And so...
We're providing for it, but we
But
don't have any
This
guidelines
would be on
on
paper.
what.
But like, when
Yeah.
you mention you have 3 minutes, this says it in writing, why we
Yes,
say it's
this
3
is our
minutes.
policy.
That everybody
There
has
would be a
the same-
policy
Yeah.
that you could go by.
And we've adopted that, like at the planning and zoning level
Yeah.
too, that we have these sorts
Okay,
of things.
just
in place,
something to
so.
think about if somebody wants to make some adjustments, just give it back to me. We can, maybe it's something for the first of the year when we reorganize.
Right.
All right, any other
Good idea.
So any other comments for the open? Anything else? I do have a couple of requests here for executive session. One, it would be me in reference to bringing you up to date on negotiations with union negotiations. Which one would that be? And then also...
Three.
And then also with pending litigation and
Number 2,
number 2.
make a motion to go into
Number
executive
2 and
session
number 3.
under
We have a
those
motion
2.
by Hatton to go into executive session.
Second.
Second by Gable. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion is approved.
Will there be
We
any-
are in executive session.
Any action
Anything
taken
after?
Unlikely.
after the meeting?
I think on my request, they will.
Okay.
So there will be action after your request.
Oh, well, so then we do it next week.
And there won't be any, on my part, though.
Yeah, I don't have to.
No action taken after this executive session. Got it.